Okay, so hello and assalamualaikum everyone. Sorry, I just got back to you guys. I have a lot of things to do at home. Okay, so I promise you guys that I will proceed with 7.3 fermentation in the YouTube video. So here we go. Okay. For the table of content of today, you will learn four things. The first one is alcohol fermentation in yeast. The second one is alcohol fermentation in paddy plant. And then the third one is lactic acid fermentation in lactobacillus. And the fourth one is lactic acid fermentation in human muscle cell. Okay, so let's start with the definition. So what is actually fermentation? Okay, fermentation is an alternative pathway to obtain energy other than cellular respiration. Okay, so some of you guys have asked me through WhatsApp, is fermentation is an example of anaerobic? Okay, so the answer is in higher level, fermentation is actually example of anaerobic. But in your textbook, the textbook wants to highlight that the fermentation is one of alternative pathway to obtain energy other than cellular respiration. So meaning that in your level, fermentation is not an example of anaerobic respiration. Okay, that's good. Okay, so let's see the definition according to the textbook. Fermentation is an incomplete breakdown of glucose in condition of limited oxygen or without oxygen. Okay. I'm macam macam tu. But never mind, I'm okay. Okay, so let's see the alcohol fermentation. What is alcohol fermentation? It is the incomplete breakdown of glucose into ethanol, carbon dioxide, and also energy. So alcohol fermentation that we can see in yeast and also paddy plant. Okay, so let's see yeast. Okay, this is an example of those with the yeast inside. Okay, when yeast watery, meaning that you must mix yeast with water and then mix with the bread dough, and it will produce carbon dioxide that causes the bread dough rise. Why produce carbon dioxide? Because the yeast is undergo respiration. Okay, and then the breakdown of glucose produced ethanol will be used in the making of wine and beer. Okay, so meaning that other than simple example that you can see in the bread ataupun dekat dalam roti, you also can see the example in the wine or beer. Okay, the product produced is still rasa manis, still feel sweet because it is incomplete of glucose. That's why nanti bila you dah besar, for non-Muslim, if you want to taste the wine and beer, you akan rasa the sweetness of the wine and beer. Okay? But hati-hatilah dalam minum. Okay, kita kena jaga kesihatan kita juga. Okay, the second thing is paddy plant. Okay, so paddy plant grow in a waterlogged area. Okay, meaning that this is the pokok dia panjang, and then here dia punya daun-daun, bawah dia akar-akar dia. Okay, usually the akar part dia duduk dekat dalam. Okay, dia tumbuh, dia grow inside the waterlogged area. So causes that half this part to have less oxygen. So only this part will undergo alcohol fermentation by breaking down glucose into ethanol. Okay, but the thing is, ethanol actually is toxic to most of other plant, but paddy plant has some special abilities, which is it contain alcohol dehydrogenase that will break down ethanol into non-toxic carbon dioxide. Okay, so remember for paddy plant, only that part yang submerged in waterlogged area to have less oxygen, and only that part will undergo alcohol fermentation. Okay. To get the mark, you just say waterlogged area, less oxygen, undergo alcohol fermentation, contain alcohol dehydrogenase, and so on. Okay, it's good to write the whole sentence. Okay, now let's see the lactic acid fermentation. So what is lactic acid fermentation? It's actually an incomplete breakdown of glucose into lactic acid and energy. Okay, so you guys need to learn differentiate between alcohol fermentation and also lactic acid. Okay, so the example of lactic acid fermentation is lactobacillus and human muscle cell. Okay, so let's see the lactobacillus. Actually, lactobacillus is one example of bacteria named Lactobacillus species, SP means species. Okay, so what these bacteria do? Okay, usually this bacteria carries out milk fermentation to produce yogurt. Okay, you guys semua suka yogurt kan? So the one yang produce yogurt is actually the bacteria. Okay, so how this bacteria produce yogurt? First, the lactobacillus will act on lactose and turn it into lactic acid, meaning that the lactobacillus will combine or do something on lactose and turn into the lactic acid. Okay, and then the lactic acid will coagulate with casein and produce yogurt. That's why if you eat the yogurt, dia macam berketul-ketul. Sebab apa? Sebab dia coagulate. Okay, you akan rasa precipitate dekat situ. Okay, and then the last part is human muscle cell. So when this happen? During and after vigorous activity where our muscle cell. Okay, so in human muscle cell, what happened? Okay, cerita dia macam you rasa you nak pergi jogging. So bila you jogging, suddenly you rasa macam macam tu kan. So that part is during that vigorous activity, actually the rate of oxygen used is more, exceed the oxygen supply. So at this point, your muscle cell is in oxygen deficiency state and undergo oxygen debt. Okay, learn to differentiate in oxygen deficiency state and undergo oxygen debt. Okay? Okay, are you guys still okay or not? Okay, let me see something. Okay, so during this process, actually the glucose cannot break down completely. Okay, cannot break down completely, and each one of molecule of glucose will produce 2 ATP bersamaan dengan 150 kilojoule. Okay, and then during this vigorous activity juga, in the oxygen deficient state, it will produce lactic acid. Okay, it will produce lactic acid that will accumulate in your muscle cell until it reach some level. Okay, until it reach some level which cause your muscle to feel fatigue. You akan rasa macam sakit, you akan rasa macam I tired lah, I tak boleh lari, kaki I dah sakit. That's when your lactic acid is accumulate in your human muscle cells. Okay, and then after bila you dah rasa kaki you cramp, then you akan macam, oh I nak stop lah, I dah tak larat, kaki I dah cramp. Okay, so what happened at this point? Once your vigorous activity dah stop, the intake of excess oxygen, maksudnya bila you dah stop, you akan breathing balik. Betul tak? Tapi you akan breathing macam macam tu. You akan breathing laju-laju, you akan breathing faster sebab you nak more oxygen for your body. So the intake of excess oxygen then will oxidize the lactic acid that accumulate in your muscle cell into carbon dioxide, water, and also energy. Okay? Are you guys okay? So if you guys refer to the textbook, you guys can see the graph. Okay, you guys can see the graph. Okay. Oh, I forgot to say that once the vigorous activity stop and blah blah blah, what happened that I just explained just now. So at this point, the oxygen debt is paid off. Okay, dia dah bayar balik yang kita hutang oksigen tadi sebab kita dah absorb ataupun kita dah sedut is not right term. Okay, maksudnya kita dah ambil lah intake of more oxygen inside our body. So, the muscle cell will undergo oxygen debt repaid. Okay, like that. Okay? So, never mind, it's okay. Later on, tomorrow we will do some activities and then we'll discuss about the question. So, don't worry, okay, everyone, don't worry yet. I just want you guys to watch this video so that you guys actually get the idea what is a fermentation and so on. Okay, if you guys have any question, ask me tomorrow in the class. Okay, so make sure prepare your question. Or if you are curious to know, dia tak mampu nak menanggung, you guys can ask me in the WhatsApp group. I try to reply faster. Okay, for the comparison, similarities and differences, you guys can read it because all things I dah cakap, cuma you guys kena compare balik. Okay, but the textbook already put everything beside. So you guys just read it. Okay? And don't forget to ask me. Okay, that's all. So see you in the next class. Bye. Assalamualaikum.